All right, I really want to talk about Marvel Rivals and the achievements that they have set up. Now, for me personally, one thing that if you've watched other videos of mine, you might have heard me talk about like learning through play. Uh, this is sort of, I think, like a more old school way of thinking about things. Like when games had much more limitations, it was how do we teach the player how to play the game through the use of like level design or other enemies um, that would help teach them how to play without being hit with like some sort of like massive tutorial. And now, granted, as time has gone on, games have gotten a lot more complex. There's a lot more information that has generally been needed in order to know how all of these games work. So, a certain amount of writing might be necessary for certain types of games. But for me, I always want to try and condense as much of that information of how to play through the use of just picking up and pressing buttons on its own. And that being said, I hate game tutorials with a passion. I despise the tutorial section of any new game. And anytime I get a new game, the one thing I dread the most is the tutorial. I cannot stand them. So for Marvel Rivals, I did like the very basic of basic tutorial. Like I went through, I think, I don't even know what it was. I went through it and I asked my friend, I was like, do I need to go through any more of this or am I good? And he's like, you're good. So all I did was just go into the practice range, pick the heroes, mess around with the abilities, pick the heroes, mess around with the abilities. And I don't think any of them were locked either. Like I just had so much, but that's okay because now I have a choice. I can play whatever I want and I can experiment with whatever I want. And when I was doing that, I grabbed Psylocke and I was like, oh, this one feels right. This one feels like my type of character. And I was right, and I'm still right. After trying and getting better at all the other heroes as well, or at least learning them, Psylocke is still the one I want to go back to. I knew from the get go that that's the one, and I was good. But through the use of, or through playing with my friends and competitive, and we were just grouped up. It was me and two other friends. We um we took a break and my friends were really grinding the achievements and I was like, why would you grind the achievements? Like what's the point in that? Because I'm not one to grind achievements. I don't care about grinding away a bunch of stupid stuff that says, oh, you did this much damage or whatever. Like it's normally in games it's not very exciting, but then I noticed my friend got a skin recolor of Star Lord, and I was like, oh, that's not bad, that's pretty cool. I was like, well, I guess I could take a look at these achievements. And I take a look at these achievements and I noticed you get units for it. Units are the currency in game in which you can buy skins. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. They're trading your time for for money. Which is a great incentive, by the way. Like there needs to be more companies willing to give up actual in-game currency for digital skins so that way you can convince players to keep playing, right? There needs to be more of that. But the incentive is the great part in terms of like helping motivate you. But what also it did is it taught me how to play the game better. And this is when I started to realize towards the end of when I started to complete all the achievements, I've got them all now except for two bronze ones, is that a lot of the achievements while going through and learning all these heroes and unlocking them, I was forced to play a certain amount of time on every single hero that I started to learn things that I didn't know you could do, or I started to learn how to play each one of those heroes so I could have a better understanding to also how to play against them. Um, and a lot of it, like might be simple, but this is a bronze one, really easy. As Hulk, slam an enemy Loki with World Breaker. So after you hit Q as Hulk and you get bigger and stronger, you can hit Q again on someone to slam them around, just like in the Avengers movie, right? Something that might not be super obvious unless you play Hulk or unless you've been playing him for a bit. But here, if you go through the achievements, you're like, oh, if I play Hulk, I hit Q, I can hit Q again, and I'll smash someone around. So you're like, now have this new information. And the bronze ones aren't really as important as the silver awarded ones. Um, but like as Punisher, land 3 KOs amidst the smoke of your grenade, right? In a single game. A challenge like that is difficult enough that you're probably not going to get it on the first game or the second game. You'll have to play a few games before you eventually get to the point that you unlock that achievement. And by the time you get to that point that you've unlocked that achievement, you're pretty decent at Punisher now. It's not going to be totally foreign to you if you hop into a game and the team is like, "Oh, can someone play Punisher?" You're like, "Oh, I could probably do that." Um, and that's true for just about every one of the heroes, but even some of them have uh, sort of unique ones, like Captain America's land 3 KOs with the single use of Freedom Charge. Now, Freedom Charge is not an offensive ultimate. It's not like it's not like Punisher ultimate or anything like that. So it's like why 3 KOs and an ultimate that's essentially an assist? Well, then you have to learn that it's best to use that ultimate to help your team. Like use it when you see Black Panther ulting, or use it when you see Punisher ulting or something. Try and use it to help your team out and stack your ult with somebody else's in order to secure those 3 KOs. At least that's what I had to do. And then you're like, oh, okay. So later in the games, if you're playing as Captain America, you're like, oh, maybe I should stack my ult with somebody else's. And generally speaking, all of them sort of have that same sort of like time on it. On Magic, land 3 KOs with a single use of your ult. Not super difficult if you play Magic, but if you are not used to a flanker or melee play style, something get in there, get out type of character, that might be super difficult for you to do. But by the time you land 3 KOs, which isn't impossible in a game with, 6v6, by the time you land 3 KOs, you are much more comfortable on that hero in quick play than you ever were before. And you also have a better understanding of how that character works. Uh, and I love the fact that they actually got super creative uh with a lot of them, like Psylocke. Psylocke's contest the mission area for 60 seconds in a single match. That one was unique because of the fact that it's like, well, what Psylocke does is she doesn't really contest the point. She kills stuff and she gets in and gets out. But then I thought to myself, because it seems kind of pointless. Why would you want to have why would you want to have Psylocke of all people contest a point for 60 seconds when that's something that you'd want a tank to do? But then I realized what they were trying to do is that to contest an area for 60 seconds on the point, you need to survive. And one of the things you have to do as a Psylocke player, such as myself, is you want to survive as much as possible. So you have to use your abilities of dashing, cloaking to sort of slip around a lot more. And the better that you can do that, the better you can make assassination attempts in the game when you are playing seriously. And when you lose in quick play doing a lot of these achievements, it's still fun because of the fact that you're just kind of messing around. You're not taking it too seriously. You're still trying. I was still trying. My friends were still trying. But we would be losing trying to get these achievements, and it still wasn't terribly unfun. I will say, caveat, I did get frustrated playing doing the tank achievements though, because the tanks in this game just do not fit my play style at all. But uh outside of that, even when I was playing as, Wolverine, which it took a while, it was frustrating. I got close a bunch of times, but the moment that someone decided to go Groot and help me with it, it felt so satisfying to actually get that achievement. Uh, it and then they even did it for the new heroes that came out. Immediately as a new hero comes out, they're like, "Hey, there's a new achievement," and every time you get more achievements, you get closer and closer to getting more units. And, even with the new heroes with Mr. Fantastic, bounce 5 times with the single use of Brainiac bounce, that that right there is like, "Oh, okay, so if I get in there and I ult and say you only do it like 3 times or whatever," then you're like, "Oh, well, like, I must be able to hit more." So naturally, I'm thinking to myself, "Well, I must have to keep hitting people in order for it to keep counting. So as long as I'm hitting someone, I can keep bouncing." Um, and now when I go up against a Mr. Fantastic, I'm like, "Oh, he's ulting. I just need to get away from him," right? This is all information that is not put into your head through text or tutorials or overwhelming you. It's literally just saying, hey, play the game, get the achievements, get paid. And then you don't even realize that you've gotten better at the game and you've learned to counterplay your opponents better because you have a better understanding now of how everyone in the game works. And not only that, you essentially got paid to do it. This is how many units you can get just for the heroic journey completion here. Here's the units, the storm alternate color, the star alternate color, and a title. Like that's a lot of units. You can get your own skin. So now after doing all of these, yeah, like if say you're a you know a kid or a student or somebody who has more time than they do money, this is a great alternative to you know make you keep playing, make your players be engaged, give your players more of a reason to log in every day and play some more and keep going because if you're getting essentially what you feel is paid to play, you want to keep playing. And to subtly teach your players how to be better at the game through the use of achievements is something that I think Marvel Rivals really needs credit for because I always thought that, Wolverine's shield was like an ability. I didn't know it was a passive on him. And now that I've played him, I'm like, "Oh, for 60 seconds, he doesn't have that passive." So now every time I'm gonna be in game and I'm playing Psylocke, if he comes in and he uses that passive, I'm gonna put a markup on that clock and be like, 60 seconds from now, if I see him again anytime between now and then, I'm jumping on him. Uh, this is going to make me a better player in my competitive games, and it will make other people better players too. And they just did it by manipulating me, by shining putting a carrot in front of me and just dangling it, and I fell for it. And I can't help but sit there and appreciate any game that rewards me through play. And it wasn't about the money. Like this will remove a lot of player frustration, this will help people just kind of get better naturally. Like to anybody who's going to grind the achievements like this, I think it will actually help them in the long run. Um, so I wish that Overwatch and other games would do more stuff like this because Overwatch, I know that I've grinded some of the achievements and stuff in the past, but they always just seem really like lame. Like if there was a skin, I would only ever be grinding for that one skin, but it was always a skin that they chose, right? This one, I have my own choice. But Eh, I don't know, like, all the stuff I would ever grind for in Overwatch, it never felt like I was learning anything, it wasn't like it was trying to teach me something new, it wasn't, uh it wasn't for and all the stuff in between the skin and the start of grinding that stuff was always, like, stuff I didn't care about. It was like, I don't know, voice lines or sprays or whatever, I don't know, there's a bunch of stuff that I just didn't really care for. But when I have a choice, when you're giving me actual in-game currency that I can spend, now I feel like you value me as a player a lot more. Now I feel like you actually, you know, want to give me the things that I want, in comparison to just sitting there saying like trying to find an excuse to get me to spend more money. Uh, so yeah, I think that Overwatch can definitely take a note out of the Marvel Rivals book here and learn from how they did this. And I took a break from competitive to do this to finish out these achievements. It's been super fun, super chill. If you haven't done them yet, I highly recommend just going into your achievements and checking them out. Uh, I think it's been super fun to do with my friends. Group up and try and get them together. There's Excel spreadsheets and stuff or Google Sheets online that people have made to help track them. I'm sure you can find them. Um, but yeah, it's been a good fun time. It's been really rewarding, and I do have my own issues with Marvel Rivals that I will bring up in later videos. But like right now, I'm still learning a lot of what can be done in Rivals. I have thousands of hours in Overwatch. I only have a little bit of time into Marvel Rivals. Not enough time to really feel like I can give an accurate critique of it yet. But overall, it's a very fun, much more casual game for me. But I'm still having a good time, and uh, despite the bugs and its really really bad optimization, I think it's a solid foundation for a game, and I'm excited to see where they take things because I hope they do more stuff like this. I hope there's more incentive and I'm rewarded more for just play because this right here, playing this game from the start to the finish, mild critiques aside, I feel it feels like an old school game. It's it's clunky, it's not perfect, it's got issues, but I'm just playing, having fun, and I'm learning through play. And I don't know, I value that type of experience, whether you like the game or not. I think that what they set out to do, they succeeded, and I'm excited to see what happens. Anyway, if you hadn't had the chance yet to, you know, grind through these achievements and try them out, I highly recommend you do. And if you have, let me know if you feel like you've learned anything from going through the achievements or if, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it was just me.